Yeah.
But I think let's just get on moving. So for everyone who's just joining us now, I'm Catherine Delaloye. I'm the General Manager for Production Paradise. I'm here live from Barcelona together with some of China's leading creatives. So first of all, thanks to all of you to be here today. I know it's already quite late in China. For most of you, it's past 8 p.m. So I'm very thankful you took the time to speak with us. And before I get started with asking you some questions, I'd like just for each of you to present yourself. So first person we have here is James Lee. Hi, James.
Yep. Hi there. Bye, guys.
Hi. Can you tell us about yourself?
So I'm a creative from the agency background. I've been as a creative guys. They've been around. So I've been to all the big agencies like OPPO and Saatchi's and the McCann's and the JWT's of this world. Done that for 20 years, and I've recently just ventured being on the client side. So now I'm a creative director at OPPO. And for those who don't know what OPPO is a
No, I think we lost we lost James. Okay, we can go back to James afterwards. So Hiro, do you want to take over?
Sure. Hello, I'm Hiro. I am a still life photographer, mainly shooting cosmetics product shooting. I am based in Tokyo, but actively shooting in Shanghai as well. I also shoot a little bit in Hong Kong and Singapore. So I work pretty much all around Asia.
Okay, thank you. And then we have Rodney Evans.
Hello. So I'm from Central Studios, and we're a big photo and a lot of video these days studio in center of Shanghai, and we've been running for over 10 years. I'm originally from Australia. The work that we do, we work with a lot of multinationals. Our studios is one of the premier rental facilities in Shanghai, and just produce a range of photo and video content for our clients.
Okay, thank you. And then we have Jaslyn and Edie from Amanacliq. Edie, you want to start?
Yeah, hello everybody. I'm Edie, the artist agent and creative producer with Amanacliq. Our business is focused on the print and the video production and also artist management. Our artists is like photographers and illustrators, CGI, animators, and also a lot more experimental artists these days. So yeah, and my role is a photo agent, artist agent, and a creative producer. So I help propose the artist, book the brief, and do the project management for the illustrative related campaigns.
Okay, thank you. And then you work with Jaslyn, who's in Singapore.
Yeah, hi, I'm Jaslyn. Hi, I'm the production director and head of artist representation in Amanacliq. So I'm currently based in Singapore, but I do fly between Shanghai and Singapore regularly, of course, before the whole lockdown happens. I also have like advertising producer background in ad agency. So I've worked in Publicis, Warner London, and Wieden Kennedy before I moved back to working in a production company.
Okay, thank you. And then finally, we have Pietro Ansaldi, who's Italian but based in Shanghai.
Yeah, hi, I'm Pietro. Hi, everybody. I'm a freelancer photographer based in Shanghai since 5 years. I kind of mostly just work freelance, so I have my own customer. I can cooperate with the agency. Also, I mostly shoot interior, food, architecture, also commercial shooting. And yeah, kind of that's it. Yeah, and I cooperate with some video production company also. Can in post production also. Yeah.
Okay, and how long have you been living in Shanghai?
In Shanghai, 5 years. 5 years.
5 years. Okay, great. Okay, so yeah, thanks again for everyone to be here. So I'm just going to get started with asking you some questions we've been collecting over the past few days from some of our connections. So the first one is, I think everybody wants to know how has the recent, pandemic and the lockdown affected your business over the last 3 months in terms of clients, events you had planned, campaigns, workplace. I don't know if Pietro, you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So actually, yeah, this time has not been easy for everybody. In China, yeah, it's start to get a little better. But from my view, actually, because you asked me about the workplace, for example, I'm a freelancer, so I don't need to worry about having an office because I have my own office, my house. So I already start to home working, since not very long time. So I don't really need to worry about that. And then, as I told you before, it's like, yeah, all the customer actually they're just waiting. So the situation is really not clear, or when it's gonna start, or when the client is gonna do the project, or so it's kind of the same time worry, but at the same time you like we talked before, we should improve ourselves and still show to people what we are doing and what we did in order to be ready when everything is going back on.
Okay, thank you. Rodney?
Yep. So I guess the main thing is that, there's been job cancellations and job postponements. I think for us, it was timed to happen around, it was timed that it all happened around Chinese New Year, where things were kind of traditionally a bit of a slow thing for us. But moving into Chinese New Year, we had a big pipeline, and some of those jobs just disappeared because they were time sensitive, and others have been postponed. We had a lot of jobs that were postponed, and then they've come back with some budget cuts. Then another batch of jobs which are sort of location based and just postponed indefinitely. From the studio perspective, obviously because of the social distancing and people in lockdown, there was, the business just dried up completely for over a month, 2 months. And it's really only been the past week or two that things are starting to pick up again. And but in a big way, I think everyone's been had a lot of pent up demand, and now we're seeing a lot of people coming through.
So later on, I'm going to ask you, how you're doing the shoots right now, if anything has changed. So someone just asked a question, so we'll come back to that. Edie, and yeah, you want to give us your input?
Yeah, sure. Like they said, working place is definitely changed because we transfer our office to the home. But thanks to the technology, so, and also because the nature of my work, I can just pretty much work as usual by, just have the laptop and the mobile on hand. And also Zoom meetings and the WeChat group meetings is widely used for daily base and quite convenient. So I don't think the work is pretty much, the work mode is not pretty much affected by the pandemic things. But of course, the business has been slow during the last 2 months lockdown, and we got some projects canceled. But on the other side, we also got some projects which has to be used to be the live shoot, and has been shifted from the shooting oriented to the CGI and the post driven. So, and positive thinking, I think the business around Chinese New Year is never that quick. It's always a bit slow compared to other seasons. So I don't think it's that much worse this year compared to, the previous years during the last 2 months. And also luckily, the situation in China these days is got the stabilized. Right before the client lost the confidence in creating more contents to the Q2 and the Q3 campaigns. So luckily the business actually is living up quite quickly. And also thanks to our diverse roster of illustrators, animators, and CGI. And also we have the in-house post team, so they can still provide multiple alternative approach for client to fulfill their campaigns. So I think it's not that bad actually. Yeah.
Okay, great. Hiro, how has it been for you? You were in Japan, no, recently?
Yes, it's been affecting in so many ways. Well, first of all, I am right now in my place in Shanghai taking quarantine because I recently came to Shanghai for a shooting job. And today is my last day of the quarantine. But I'm a photographer who is shooting in different countries constantly. So to me, this travel ban is a really huge thing that you cannot enter many countries, and also even if you could enter, you have to take the quarantine for 14 days, and that makes a lot of jobs impossible to happen.
Okay, thank you. And James, glad to have you back.
Hey.
Sorry, you just froze when you were going to say what is OPPO, so maybe you just want to finish that first.
OPPO is a smartphone company. We're not the big players at the moment like Huawei, but they're a decent medium-sized smartphone company, and they're starting to grow inwards in the young market. So so I've joined them as a creative director, and I'm hoping to do a lot of their advertising and content work.
Okay, great. And so how was it for you as a creative director? How did you see the business affected over the last 3 months?
It's quite scary from our perspective. I work on big clients that paid retainers, so you can know by when it comes to financial year there's going to be a big hit, and then things will happen. In terms of working, we still worked remotely, which I hate, because creative is the person. I'm kind of old school, so you like sitting across the other person, you start talking about just nonsense, and something will come spark. That's how mashing two unrelated things together. That's how kind of creative it is. But when you're in isolation or working from home, there's nothing you can really do. All you can do is just go on the internet and watch YouTube and see what you can kind of what's current. But that's a good thing that the internet is still there, still working, luckily. So we've got that to fall back on to do research. But in terms of working, I don't like working in isolation. It's good for about a week, and then you run out of TV shows to watch. So that's what I found.
Today you're back in your office and we're back with colleagues.
So in China, for the big companies, we've been going back in phases. So it was totally work from home, and then maybe 20% of the office people come back, and then 40%. Now it's 100% now back at the office.
Okay, James, actually just got a question for you. Julia is a photographer. She said she had a campaign lined up for January in China, but it was cancelled for obvious reasons. She's asking if she should chase, or is it just too sensitive to do that right now? What do you think?
I think now's a good time to start touching base with them and just see where the project is at. Because things, as he and probably Jaslyn said, things are starting to move. May not be big productions. If it's TV, it's less than 50 people or 40 people. You can't have more than that. Photography, which is probably a lot easier. So I think now's a good time to start touching base, seeing if it's still going on or they've just postponed it. Just following up. It's a good time to start talking now.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, so I'm moving on to another question. So if you have any advice for other people in your same industry, whether it's producers, photographers, creative directors, on how do you think they could make the most of their time during the lockdown? Have you learned anything that you can share with the others?
As creative, we've always been hard work on other people's brands, but now's a good time to like work on your personal work. You know, I have a young son, so all my time is spent looking after my young son and teaching him how to do, you know, drawing and stuff. But we all have pet projects. Really, just keep yourself busy. You know, and don't be too pessimistic. You know, it will go over. I know it hasn't been easy, and I've been one of the fortunate ones. Yeah, but keep researching or coming up with ideas. You know, when we first started out in advertising, we've always 1,000 ideas in our mind. Now's the time to just kind of relook at our ideas, what we had in the past, do scamps. It's easy at home, and then present work that you really want. I think yeah, just stay positive as well.
Yeah. All right, good. I don't know, Rodney, do you have any thoughts?
So, yeah, I mean, I guess we didn't really know when we went into shutdown how long this would all last, and so once we all got over the shock of it, we sort of started to really look at it as an opportunity to catch up on some things that you might not ordinarily get to do. I guess from my perspective, it was a little bit more of a company strategy sort of thing. Often we're just so busy doing the work that we don't get a lot of time to think. So it was a good opportunity to discuss with my partner about you know, the company purpose and the mission and the vision, and just a little bit more of a kind of broad strategic stuff about who we are as a company and where we want to take it. So gave us a lot of time to think about that. From a team perspective, yeah, I mean, I guess if there was any advice, you know, one of the things that I told our team to do while they were working from home, when all of our jobs were still so uncertain, was just to kind of research artists. So we don't represent talent directly, but we do a lot of art buying. So we're always on the lookout for photographers and directors, and it was a great opportunity that they could really kind of dig in and find some new talent.
Okay, great. Edie, anything you want to add?
Sure. I think, yeah, as we said, I mean, stay positive. And also, I think it's important to stay creatively inspired. And I've been, because, you know, when we are under the shelters, all my attention is drawn to the screen of my mobile. So I do a lot like browsing online. Then I notice actually a lot local and creatives, they see the opportunities for organizing their personal projects, which is brilliant. They contribute their talent to, you know, the virus battle in their unique and very creative ways. I noticed there's some local directors and photographers. They organize some very engaging projects and short films or documentary photo series of the surroundings, like people's life under the so special period. And yeah, I mean, with people all staying at home these days, how you can imagine it's very meaningful to them to, you know, have some skill for camera holder to tell them, reveal the world from the outside, and to feel the connection and to keep the morale up. So I also got know quite a few like great local talents through their works they posted online on YouTube, on the Douyin, and like, you know, the local version of YouTube. And yeah, actually there's some local talents. For example, there is one Wuhan director called Le Shuting. I'm not sure if you know, because he is now quite hot, sought after in China, because he shoots this Wuhan balcony, is called. So they shoot the Wuhan people's life on the shelf on the balcony, because that's the only place they can breathe the open air. So this series of film went just instantly like got like 8 million hits on the internet. So now he is also assigned by the government to do more such projects. So he's becoming like an unknown creatives in China, and two quite famous ones just during the 2 months lockdown span of time. So I mean, as long as you can, you know, stay positive and try to seize opportunities, stay sensitive, it's just a good chance, I mean, to improve on the career. Yeah. So yeah, so I mean, just it's all about how you see the situation and how you try to adapt to it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess it is the time to focus on personal work and to just try different things and put it out there, and, you know, you might create something great that might go viral. So I think definitely a lot of people now are getting more creative and they have the time to test their skills and to try something different.
Yeah, I mean, even for me, I'm another example. I'm just working from home and with 2 babies in house. So definitely I don't have much time for doing some creative things, but it's still the best family time, you know, bonding time ever. So, I mean, just stay positive and do what we can do. Yeah. It will pass very soon, I believe.
Absolutely. So let's hear maybe from one of the photographer. Pietro, do you want to tell us if you have any tips for other photographers who are in lockdown? Anything you've done?
First, I want to say that to all the creative people, it's better that don't stop moving. Otherwise, really, our soul will be becoming so weak. So don't stop moving is a must. So everybody, even in this time, they should keep thinking or reinvent themselves in some other ways or somehow. For me, from my point of view as a photographer, because actually the opportunity now is less and less because the situation. So I just, like everybody said, keep working and organize your portfolio. Or for me, for example, I finally, because I never never have the courage or the time to do it, I finally organized one exhibition with my artwork. So also that maybe can be a good chance to make me know by other people. Or also I start to teach lessons about photography online, like using Zoom. So the most important, is never stop, because also we cannot really control the situation. So I cannot really say, okay, 1 month, that's it, everything is fine. So we also should not be also so depressed and say, oh my God, what is gonna be? So for me, from my point of view as a photographer, just keep shooting and even your personal work, and that's it. Yeah, at least keep your mind busy.
Okay, thank you. So the first question is, do you think it's important for you to keep, being present, especially online? So using social media, using, places like Production Paradise to keep promoting your work and keep putting yourself out there? Or did you feel that, there was no point to do that at the moment? Edie, you want to start?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's no matter when, I think it's always very important to, stay on put on the online, because now we are living this advantage digital era. So I think especially during this period, online presence is extremely important because that's all we can do. Definitely all the marketing we can do, we cannot do event, we cannot do the client meeting. So basically what we can do only is digital marketing. So yeah, during the lockdown time, when China is in the most severe virus outbreak and the outside world is still okay, then we got a lot the China clients who is trying to explore the options to shoot overseas. So I use a lot Production Paradise, try to source out, the overseas production house and overseas photographers, and just try to, to help a client to explore the options to shooting overseas. And nowadays, because China borders just forbidden all the foreign visitors, and now we are just using social medias in China to try to dig out more local talents. So yeah, as I just said, the direct shooting, also I find it on the social media, on the Douyin and the Kuaishou, these kind of Chinese version of YouTube. So I think definitely it's super important for every creatives to keep themselves active on these platforms, to be seen, to remind that they are still alive and ready to answer all the requests.
Yeah, not be forgotten.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe Hiro, you wanna talk about that?
I don't think I can add anything new, but as Pietro said, it's really important for our soul not to stop moving forward. And perhaps this is the best timing for us to work on our personal work and brush up the portfolio and publish everything on the social media. We know we should do it, but always we just go after paid jobs and try to get some money and pay the bills. But you know, you have time now, so it is the best time to work on it, and hopefully after half a year or 1 year later, we will have a better future.
Yeah, thank you. And maybe a question for James, a little bit different, but do you have any advice for photographers who are trying to approach creative directors such as yourself on the best way to do it? You know, someone asked earlier, is it sensitive now to try and reach out to someone like you? Or do you feel like you have more time to look at new talents?
Oh, we definitely have more time to look at new talents. And my advice to photographers is, as creatives, we're always looking for a fresh eye on things. Show something that we have not in an angle or in an effect that we've never seen before. We always look for that, because we're not photographers, we're creatives. We might come up with the idea, but the execution we rely heavily on photographers, and sometimes they really inspire us. Something in their portfolio, if it's some kind of effect, photography effect that we haven't seen before. If we like that stuff, a lot of times we kind of bend the creative to make it work into that effect, because we like the execution so much. So I mean, I'm not sure. I don't think that all the photography techniques have been exhausted yet. So if you can pioneer something, if now's the time, to pioneer something interesting for sure. For creatives, we have time to do more research, discover new things out there. There are so much online that we can, 1,000 lifetime may not be enough time to uncover. So, I go for a lot of Behance and see what's new, what's fresh. And I spot a talent, I'll reach out sometimes and just talk to the people. Expanding your circle is very important at this time. I think now's a very good time to get yourself noticed. Everyone said really good comments. Always keep moving, keep publishing. Now is a very good time to get noticed. Wherever you are, the web has made everything so close for us together. So yeah, I think everyone had a really good response to this.
All right, thank you so much. So let's move on to the next questions. I think a lot of people want to know, how it's been for the last 2 weeks. So now some of you are back at work, and I think a lot of people want to know, have you changed the way you're producing content outside? Have you seen new restrictions put in place that stops you to do the things the same way you were doing before? And I think someone also asked, if overall in China, like different places have different regulations, and but if you want to do an outdoor shoot, is it the same whether you do it in Beijing or in Shanghai? And how do you handle this for upcoming productions? I don't know if Rodney, you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So I guess since things started to open up in China, the first step was it started with a bit of a trickle, and then our clients were getting a lot more confidence to really start moving forward with shoots. And really for the past 2 weeks, every day we've had several incoming sort of inquiries, and the pitching and the quoting is really picking up steam. Added to that, job confirms and inquiries from everywhere. In terms of getting it done, we have a shoot going on in Beijing right now, and the shoot itself was a couple of segments over 3 or 4 days. But because of the rules in Beijing, our team couldn't just fly in for those 3 or 4 days. If they were going to be there for 1 or 2 days, they could have flown in on a business with a sort of like a business permission. We had to write a company letter, and then they could have returned within that time. But because the shoot was more than 2 days, then all of a sudden they had to do 14 days quarantine, which I don't quite get the logic, but I guess they were stuck there. So So we had to factor in a budget to hold our crew in Beijing for 2 weeks, and the client agreed. So that was, I guess, we were also, it's not an opportunity just to kind of add on charges. I mean, we just need to cover costs and be sensitive to the client's needs as well. And so there are all kinds of challenges, on all of our shoots. We have a health station and sanitizers, and making sure that everyone is signed in. And in China, there's a system where people have a green QR code if they're in the clear, and there's a very comprehensive digital system where people can check that they've done their quarantine. So everyone needs to have gone through that to be able to be allowed on set. And of course, we're trying to minimize crew numbers where possible.
Okay, thank you. Jaslyn, anything you want to add to that?
I mean, it's pretty much what Rodney has said. I mean, even though the lockdown has been partially lifted, there's still a lot of unknowns and travel restrictions within China. So we have to constantly check with the authorities from the different cities and provinces, because they all have different rules. So it's really, reaching out to the authorities and checking with them and making sure that we abound by the rules and regulations. There's also other measures like, having temperature check and health stations on shoot, and then making sure that there's no sharing of food and stuff like that. We're just trying to keep to the hygiene levels and just make sure that everyone stays vigilant, so that, it's really just getting everyone's confidence that, shoot can take place as long as we keep ourselves safe. So it's pretty much, all these added measures that we have taken during this period, which is probably just the past 2 weeks. I mean, things really just get picked up in the past 2 weeks. In March, we were actually rotating teams. We still had the BCP in place. But come 1st of April, I think almost everyone is back in full force. So we have everyone actually, crowding and everyone in the same office space. So I think this is the time that we also need to also remind ourselves to be extra careful, because, you just don't want another wave of infection or, anything that could disrupt, the industry even more.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Someone was asking if it would make sense to plan a fashion shoot in China, let's say in May, or is that still too early, I think, to plan something ahead? Edie, maybe you want to to answer that?
I think probably not May. I don't think the government will allow for that, because the fashion shoot will definitely require a high level of crowding. So I guess May is still too soon to say that. So probably, I guess hopefully during August or something. But I'm not sure. Yeah, because the government's notice is always very short and urgent, and we can never predict how it will go. But hopefully will be by autumn. It's just my personal sense.
Okay, so now you have to focus on small shoots, ideally indoor, or really small crews.
Outdoor, we already started some outdoor shootings, but I don't think we'll allow for like a big crowd of extras. I guess as long as the model is within like a dozen, something like that, it should be still fine. But over that, I think we still need to recheck and. Yeah, because you never know about the concrete restrictions by the government.
Okay. So hold on to any big fashion shoot or lifestyle shoot for now in China.
You mean the fashion shoot?
Yes.
Oh, so sorry, I thought it the fashion event, like some fashion.
No, fashion shoot.
I think fashion shoot is still okay, but of course, if it really depends on the needs and how much models and what kind of locations you require. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if I might step in here, I mean, if these people are planning to fly to China to do a shoot, well, obviously, there's a lot of restrictions there and no one knows when the borders are going to open up. I mean, but if people are looking for local people to do shoots, I mean, what I'm seeing is, everyone's ready to work and there's a way around it. If shooting on location, we were looking into a location down by the river, and we've been told they're not opening it up to shoots yet, maybe in May. But, it's also the kind of thing that if you're small and a nimble shoot and you can get away with one model and a photographer and a really light crew, I think you should be able to do it. I mean, as an example, last weekend was a long weekend and we just took the family down to the river for a picnic and it was so many people there. So there's a mood in Shanghai that people can get out and do things. And certainly fashion shoots in studios is no problem. And, you know, I don't think it would be a problem if people wanted to shoot in May. Just it depends what they wanted to do. But everyone's ready to work here.
Yeah. So I think ideally people have to focus on, you know, maybe hiring you from some local production companies to do the shoots, but of course doing it remotely, you know, which is something I think a lot of people are now learning to deal with. So I think it was Eddie, you told me you had a client maybe from Germany who reached out to
Oh yeah. We started to got some like overseas requests asking for the production facilities, also like the fashion or lifestyle related outdoor shoot. So yeah, we are waiting for the concrete brief, but of course, I mean the outdoor shoot is definitely visible, but of course the models, if they require the Caucasian models, also the choice is kind of limited compared to the normal years. But still, we can, you know, expand our searches in the cities outside of Shanghai, so still can keep our, you know, options open. Yeah.
Okay. So you could help foreign companies to produce a campaign in China. They would have to give you the brief remotely, probably do like a live stream.
Yeah, I think they think of Shanghai because Shanghai happens to be, you know, the once colonized city. So there's the Europe style, the Western styles, you know, the urban view. So it can, you know, mock up like the European style. So it's like shooting in Europe, but actually it's in Shanghai. I think that's also what they think of and approach us. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that was one of my last questions, you know, was what can you offer to foreign companies who need really, you know, to produce content and might turn to you guys to help with that. I don't know if, for example, Pietro, I mean, you do some interiors shoots, which might be a bit more tricky. But have you had any clients outside of China who reached out to you to see if you could help with the campaign?
Actually, outside China, no. But yeah, actually, everyone should like. Yeah, they still can do things in China. It just need to be more organized before and check what they need to do and how many people need to come to China or to one place. Like Rodney said, actually people in Shanghai, they are ready to shoot and everybody in Shanghai, so there's no problem. Even the campaign, the customer is not in China, but we can actually deal with that in Shanghai, for example. Me, I live in Shanghai. So I think the only suggestion is that they can keep doing that, but of course, because this situation just make clear who is gonna come in that place and really what they need to do and how many location shooting and they need to check first or anyway, maybe it will take more time, of course, to make everything clear, but I think it's still okay to shoot here. Yeah.
Okay, great. And maybe a question for James, a little bit different. Do you feel like ad agencies have changed a little bit the way that they are creating content right now, or the way they're going to advertise their brands? And, you know, did you see the industry changing compared to how it was before?
Has it changed? I mean, it's changed the way we work, obviously, for the last couple of months. But other than that, no. Once we get back to work, it's you know, we do the same thing, right? So it's not. But of course, when it comes to production, you know, the entire panel is just told what's happening at the moment. You know, we're very limited. We can only shoot if we want to. We want to shoot. If we want to be on a shoot, we can only shoot here. We can only find existing directors, DOPs, talent. You know, the whole entire crew has to be here. And of course, yeah, Beijing's probably no, because anybody coming into Beijing is 14 days immediately. Or do we consider, there was a job here that wanted to be shot in London. We were considering do it remotely. they already just did a job was in South Africa. They were supposed to go, but then it was done remotely. So the job turned out quite okay in the end. So yeah, there's a lot of compromises at the moment on production value. We feel. Not that the production here is not good, but if you have more diverse talent coming in from the outside, like a DOP from from France or so, it just adds to the richness of the thing. So at the moment, in terms of creative process, it's the same. We do what we do, but the production becomes a lot more challenging.
Okay. Someone just asked what are the main challenges with remote filming. So, I mean, I don't know if maybe who's done a campaign recently remotely, Rodney. I don't know if you've
not yet. We've got one coming up next week that we're going to live stream. So it's a combined Singapore, Hong Kong, and local client here. So we'll be setting up live streaming so people in Hong Kong and Singapore can tune into the shoot. It's a TVC. But that's working with a local director. So at least the director is going to be on set, but just to get instant feedback with everyone. We'll let you know how it goes.
And what software are you going to use for the live stream?
I'm not sure actually. I mean, they got the DIT, he's got it all sorted. I need to look into that, but yeah, I can find out the details and share it with the community.
Okay, great. So let me see if there's just a couple more questions from some people. Let me see. I think one that we already answered, but I think it's not so clear if you're really allowed to do a full shoot outside in the streets of China, or do you actually have to ask for a permit first? Do they really control, how many people are there? Do they control, that you have, social distancing, that everything is in place to do it properly, or they kind of trust everybody to do it, the proper way? Who wants to answer?
Oh, can I? For me, like usually, yeah, you should get the permit to shoot outside, even in a normal situation, and depend where you can shoot. Like also Rodney said before, if you are like photographer, two assistant, and two model, maybe you can easily do it anywhere and nobody bother you. So, but because this situation, yeah, of course, we should ask before in case wasting time on everything. But usually, yeah, if a big crew coming, they always ask any license, any approval from the district area. So they should ask before, I think.
And is it quick to get that, or is it like a whole process which takes a week to get your approval?
But to be honest, during this situation, I don't know, because me, to be honest, I never really have to ask as a freelance with the agency allow me to go in one place. So I think it's gonna be more difficult. Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else wants to add on to that?
It's just really location specific. Different districts have got different rules, and there's so many. Shooting on location in China has got so many variables anyway, depending on where you are, what kind of location, and how big the crew is. So I think in China there's always a way, but I think the most important thing is really just making sure that safety is the first, and managing everyone's expectations as to really what we can achieve.
And did you get like a set of guidelines from the government? Let's say, I'm a makeup artist and I'm coming to do a fashion shoot. Is there any guideline to keep the hygiene in place, or again, it's just using your common sense and trying to,
I think there's a lot of common sense. I think I can't speak for makeup whether there's been strict guidelines. I mean, the main guideline the filming industry got was really firstly there was a shutdown, and then they wouldn't allow shoots over 50 people So there are those kind of guidelines, and then on top of that, you just take into account all of the standard day-to-day health precautions that we've been practicing anyway, and common sense. Yeah, I mean, I think a few of the answers that have been said before about, you know, sharing food and having the medic on set. People are pretty cautious here. Okay,
great. Okay, so I think that's all we have time for today. If anybody wants to add anything before we log out, please talk now.
Yes.
Yes, Hiro.
I just want to say two things. One for my fellow photographers, another one for the agency and clients, especially the agency and clients in overseas, I mean, in Europe or the US. First of all, to the photographers, this is a little bit contradictory to what I said before, but I've been splitting my business into different areas around Asia. And this time, I was fortunate doing this because this year, starting from sometime in January and February, and probably toward the end of March, my business in China was dead, totally dead. However, I could focus on my Japan clients, and I was as busy as I was ever in this year. And now, a few days ago, the government in Japan announced the state of emergency, and we all are foreseeing that the business will go down in Japan next 1 month at the soonest, right, quickest. We don't know how long it will be. However, the government is asking everyone to stay at home for 1 month. And luckily, the end of March, one client in Shanghai asked me to come over to shoot in April, and I did. And what's happening is during this quarantine period, these 2 weeks, I've been getting a lot of messages and calls for potential jobs in Shanghai. People are waiting for shootings, and also now Shanghai is the only place where we can do a decent sized shooting in the world. So that I've been getting a lot of several leads for the shootings in Shanghai, but those shootings were initially supposed to be shot in Europe or the US. So I think it is a very good risk hedge for the freelance photographers to split their business in a different countries or area. That's one thing. And another thing for the clients and agencies in the US and Europe, I just want to mention that in this industry in Shanghai, we are very much capable to shoot and produce the world-class visuals. Unfortunately, the cost is not low for the production cost. It's not low like 10 years ago or 15 years ago. However, the quality has gone up ridiculously. So I am very confident to shoot the world-class visuals in Shanghai, and that I have been doing in the last couple of years with the local production companies.
Okay, thank you. So reach out to Hiro for your next shoot in Shanghai. So thank you so much for all of you. It's been really great information for me and of course for everybody, I'm sure, who attended this on Zoom or on YouTube. I really hope, things are going to get much, much better, not just in China, but everywhere in the world, and everybody's going to go back to creating amazing content in the next few months. So thanks again, and have a good evening, and yeah, let's keep in touch, of course.
Thank you.
Thank
you,
you,
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.